So, hello, Dr. Nikita. Me and my group picked the topic, what impact does social media have on students' academic performance for our research. And each one of us were assigned tasks to complete from the following table of contents and throughout this PowerPoint. So, to start off, I'm Basilwal and I'll be explaining basically what is social media. So, social media is an interactive technology that allows creation or sharing information, ideas, career of interest, and also other forms of expression. Secondly, why is it important to students? So it plays an important role in each student's life and is often easier and convenient to access information, provide it, and also communicate through. So moving on to the next question, um, how does social media change to a place of entertainment? So people who intend to use social media realize that it provides a higher value of experience, sorry, and compared to other form of like entertainment. So regarding the last question, what effect do you think social media have on students' performance? So basically, this is the most important question, and we explained it throughout our research and through this PowerPoint. So hope like answering it throughout this PowerPoint. So moving on to the next slide, it will be explained by Fadi Muhammad.
Hi everyone, my name is Fadi Muhammad and I will be talking about our research statement, which include three main parts. As we know that social media has become a huge role in our life as we spend most of the time browsing it. So our research question was, what is the impact of social media websites and application on student academic performance? Second part is the hypothesis which states that student academic performance will decrease if they spend too much time on social media. Moving to the third part, which is about the research objectives, there are five main goals. The first goal is to determine the link between the social media and the student academic achievement. Second goal is to understand the reason why students spend so much time on social media. Third is to discover the impact of social media use in student academic performance and to understand that the social media has both advantages and disadvantages in student academic performance. Fifth goal is to offer some suggestions to students to help them avoid procrastination and distraction. And now with my colleague Hamid will talk about, we continue.
Okay, thank you, Fadi. Now my name is Hamad. Ahmed, I'm gonna take you through the lecture review. Basically, the lecture review is how the academic sector sees our topics, or what did the academic sector say about our topic. So first of all, let's state the academic definition that we took from one of the references. Uh, The social media definition is an online platform that people uses to create social networks and social relationship with those who have similar personas, personalities, professions, interests, and hobbies and backgrounds. So first of all, here's some critical bullet points that I took off our report. So the first thing I noticed on the papers and the journals we studied was that social media is extremely growing. They all stated that social media is extremely growing, which means it can have a huge impact upon users. Due to that, it must be excessively studied to avoid the negative impact of it, if it has any. Also, social media is attracting so many students on many levels, on almost all the levels, such as middle school to the high school and university. Lastly, social media has advantages and disadvantages, which I will mention some of in the next slides. So now I'll take you through some of the papers that we used in our report. Let's start with Mr. Wang and his colleagues. So the paper they did is an MBA letter, and it was released in 2021 with the title of "The Effects of Social Media on College Students." The study started by them doing a survey and of on under and postgraduate students in their university. It started by collecting a random sample of 48 students. 22 of them were females and 26 were males. 17 out of all of them, are undergraduate students. So, what did they get surveyed on? They got surveyed on their usage of social media during their studies, and the results were 45% of those who got surveyed said that they spent like 6 to 8 hours a day browsing the social media, while 23% spent more than 8 hours, along with 20% who spent around 2 to 4 hours, and lastly 12% that spent 2 hours. Okay, so let's move to the other paper by Jose Van Dyck and Thomas Boyd. So the question that got them inspired to do this paper, which is the paper, which is social media platforms and education, is what is the impact of social media on education learning in school? Which is a very broad question that cannot be studied in one paper. So they had to narrow it down. And according to them, since 2004, the influence of social media on the classroom has grown with the rise of it. Also, the rapid spread of social media has in almost every area of the children's and teenagers' life has promoted educators to consider a way to use it in curriculum activities, and that created an argument whether the social media is a positive addition or not. Some claim that social media serves an important function in assisting academics with the specific education activities, such as knowledge transfer. There is a website called Kahoot that educators are nowadays using it a lot, while others say that teachers have recognized social media as a continual source of frustration, causing disturbance in the classroom. And the last paper done by Mr. Akram and Kumar they released a paper called "A Study on Study on the Positive and Negative Effect of Social Media on Society." I will talk about the advantage and disadvantage in the next slide. So let's start with the advantages on the left side. Unlimited information. By that they meant it's full of sources of information and that's because anyone with the internet access can upload anything. So knowledge is really shared for free, and everyone can get it. Also, for example, the second one, connecting experts from anywhere on the globe. For example, if someone has a certain problem that nobody in her or his region can help him, in social media you will for sure you will for sure find an expert or someone who went through the same problem. So now but on the other hand, the social media is not monitored and it's full of misinformation. And that's also due to the anyone can can upload at any time. So let me tell you an example of misinformation. There is a website called Wikipedia. Many students are using it are using Wikipedia as a source of information. However, it's not reliable because it can be edited by anyone, and also the editors can have agendas or biases. And to prove that, there is a story of an Irish student who, with the name of Shane Frigzett, he was doing a research on information globalization. To test it, he uploaded a false statement regarding a famous French musician who recently passed away on his Wikipedia page. As the statement was false, editors have deleted it numerous times, but Shane was precise to post it as many times as he could, so that it can be kept up. She also Then Shane was shocked to discover that multiple major journals collected and published the statement he wrote, and that supported his research supported his research because of his fears and doubt of websites as Wikipedia that can be misleading, uh, and it cannot be a trustworthy sources. However, Shane contacted the medias that used his statement to inform them that the quote or the state was made up. Else, I think it would never been discovered. And now I'll leave you with my colleague to say the mythology.
Hello everyone, I'm Fadiwal. I will be explaining the methodology. So the goal of the study is to learn more about the connection between social media and student performance. This study's objectives included determining the effects of social media on students' academic performance, studying why students social media for long periods of time, and determining how social media can benefit students. Due to the quarantine and the corona epidemic, the survey was done through SurveyMaker, and the links were delivered to EDU students over WhatsApp. The respondents in the study ranged in age from 17 to 25 years old. Our limit for this survey was in the range of total 25 to 55 students from Abu Dhabi University. The questions were deliberately, thoughtfully, and crafted with the express purpose of gathering data from students in order to better understand the relationship between social media and student performance. The question were 11 in total. Following in the collection of replies from students, the data was filtered, interrogated, and analyzed, and eventually evaluated and presented in the forms of graphs using SurveyMaker. So for our results, first question was how many hours do you spend on social media? Mostly people use up to 3 to 4 or even more hours on social media, but there were less people that uses 1 to 2 hours a day. So for question two, what social media apps do you spend on your time on? We chose 5 social media apps: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, and WhatsApp. Because they are still so popular. It turns out Facebook is the highest has the highest audience from the above the old 5, and Twitter was the less social media app that was used by people. So for question three, how long have you been using social media? Turns out most people are using for 6 or above years on social media. And for question four, has the social media impact been positive, negative, neither or both? Most people say it could be both. Uh, as For there were no people say there wasn't any people talking about it has negative impact or neither or positive, neither positive or nor negative. For question five, if you think it has a negative impact, then to what extent do you think it has affected your GPA? Students were asked this question in order to measure up what extent of social media affects students' academic performance negatively. So most people were in say, say, said it was not much effective to their GPA, but yeah, but too effective and effective enough was equivalent to not much effective of ADU students. Question 6, if you think it has positive impact, then has it helped you in your studies? Uh, Most people voted yes, as it have helped them in many courses. So for question 7, would you say that you are addicted to social media? Of course, many people nowadays are addicted to it. So naturally they voted yes. And for question 8, do you multitask using social media and studying? Most of them also voted yes. Even myself, I always use my phone when I'm studying. So for question 9, uh, why do you use social media? This question aims to demonstrate why students use social media for so long. Uh, uh, Most people use it as an relaxation method and to socialize. So for question 10, which of those are the advantages do you think is true about social media? The charts represent to what extent do students think that it's true about advantages towards social media. So 34% use social media to meet new people, and some other people also use it for timely information. And for the last question, which do you think is the result of being of social media? This question to decide how students often think is the result being on social media. Uh, Most people use it nowadays as to keep up with what's trending or what's even happening around the world, and other people also use it as wasting time method. Uh, Now for the discussion, Basir will continue explaining.
So regarding the results that were just explained by Fadi, my colleague, we found out major points of discussion. The first one is the excessive use of social media could affect the student's academic performance. The apps that require a representation of others people's life, example, the Facebook and Instagram and these apps, are the most apps that students waste their time using. Social media affects student academic performance in two ways, negative and positive. One side is better than the another. It depends on how the student uses it. Students get mildly addicted to social media while they spend their long periods of time using it. And the GPA of students are affected alongside with um, students who uses social media. Sorry, and students intend to use social media to socialize rather than check what's trending or like as a relaxation method. So moving on to the limitation, my colleague Hamad will explain them.
Thank you, Fadi. So the limitation we had was, as my colleague said, it's the survey website. We couldn't find a good survey website that can provide us with many responders. And the one we chose has limited us to 25 responders. Also, another thing, no female responders because the our university email rules prohibited us from contacting the female sections using email. So we used WhatsApp to contact our WhatsApp and email to contact our male colleagues. Also, in our survey, there was no survey open questions, which means that we couldn't get suggestions from the respondents. Lastly, the small number of responders, which, as I said, there were 25. Here is the recommendation, and my colleague gonna continue with it.
Hi again, back again. So, recommendation. According to the result of our research, we found that social media may have a negative or positive effect on student academic performance depending on how students use it. Therefore, there are some recommendations that students can follow to enhance their academic performance and thus achieve success in their academic career. Firstly, use social media to connect with other students to exchange experience and information. Secondly, while studying, avoid browsing social media because it may take you many hours without realizing it. Thirdly, try to keep smart devices away from your study table so you don't get distracted while studying. And finally, to increase your academic performance, use social media to communicate with people who inspire you and share common interests. And that's it. And now with my colleague, Wasi will talk about the conclusion.
Okay, so now to conclude, we established certain positive and negative effects from our research. The positive effects are that students encourage and get encouraged through online learning, improves the academic performance, and enhance creativity in students. While the negative effects are that they cause distraction, health effects because since they spend a lot of time using, and reduce the ability to learn. Yeah, I mean, sorry, not reduce. Usually, yeah, it is reduce the ability to learn or doing a research. So yeah, that's all, and I hope I cleared any question you have, Dr. Nikita, and thank you for listening.